I never imagined that my birthday this year would be the day everything I thought I knew about my family would completely unravel. I had planned a small, intimate gathering, just close family, a few friends and a nice dinner at our house. But what actually happened was a full-blown nightmare. It started that morning with my son, Michael, texting me to say that he and his wife, Rachel, wouldn't be able to make it to the party. I was confused because I hadn't even considered the possibility that they might skip it. My birthday has always been about being together, celebrating life and feeling loved, and Michael had never missed a birthday for me before. I tried to hide my disappointment, telling myself maybe something urgent had come up, maybe work, or maybe a family emergency. But then the text started getting strange. First it was polite excuses, then increasingly passive-aggressive messages. By noon, Rachel sent a message that made my heart sink. "Mom, it's really awkward for me to come. I just don't feel comfortable. You always embarrass me in front of Michael's friends. Don't expect me." I stared at my phone for what felt like hours. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My daughter-in-law, the woman I had welcomed into my family with open arms, was telling me not to show up at my own birthday. The words echoed in my mind, making my chest tight and my vision blurry. I kept rereading them, hoping maybe I had misread something. But no, it was exactly as it sounded. The woman I had treated like a daughter was actively pushing me out of a day that was supposed to be about celebrating me. My first instinct was to call her, but I knew that wouldn't go well. Rachel has always been incredibly stubborn and confrontational when she's upset. I decided to take a deep breath, try to calm myself, and focus on the guests who had already RSVP'd. Maybe I could salvage the day. By early evening, the house was filled with laughter, the smell of baked cake, roasted chicken, and fresh flowers from the garden. I had gone all out because I wanted it to feel special, and I was trying so hard not to let Rachel's words ruin it. My closest friends were there. Some of my neighbors who I've known for decades, and my other children. Everyone was chatting, enjoying themselves, and I started to relax a little. I even laughed at a few jokes, feeling a spark of the old excitement I usually had for birthdays. But the tension in the back of my mind never fully disappeared. I couldn't help but glance at the door every few minutes, almost hoping that Rachel and Michael would walk in, that she would come in with a fake smile and say it was all a misunderstanding. But as the hours ticked by, the empty space where they should have been felt heavier and heavier. Around 8 p.m., the doorbell rang. I froze, heart thumping, thinking maybe it was the last-minute arrival of someone I had forgotten. But when I opened the door, it wasn't a friendly face, it was Rachel, and she wasn't alone. Standing behind her were two of her friends I had never met before, all of them wearing expressions that ranged from smug to downright hostile. She didn't even acknowledge me properly. Her eyes were cold, almost challenging, as if she had come to assert dominance rather than celebrate. I was speechless. I couldn't figure out what had triggered this. And then, she did something I never saw coming. In the middle of my living room, with everyone present, she raised her voice and started yelling at me. "I can't believe you invited everyone without asking me first. You always make me look bad. This is my home now too, and you just can't respect boundaries." I was completely stunned. My friends looked between us awkwardly, unsure whether they should intervene or stay quiet. My own children were frozen, unable to process what was happening. I tried to respond calmly at first, to explain that it was my birthday, that I wasn't trying to hurt her, that she didn't need to feel uncomfortable. But Rachel didn't want to hear any of it. Her tirade escalated, every word cutting deeper, every accusation more outrageous than the last. She claimed I had humiliated her at previous family gatherings, that I had made Michael uncomfortable, that I had been controlling and manipulative when it came to planning events. The words stung because in my heart I had only ever tried to make things happy and inclusive. But somehow, all of my efforts were twisted into this narrative of cruelty that she was painting in front of everyone. I felt my face burning with anger and shame at the same time. My closest friends were awkwardly shuffling, whispering among themselves, trying to keep the atmosphere polite but clearly shocked. Michael, who had finally arrived in the middle of the confrontation, looked terrified. He was torn between defending his wife and staying loyal to me, his mother. It was one of the most helpless feelings I've ever experienced. I could feel my hands trembling, my voice quivering as I tried to regain some sense of control. "Rachel, this is my birthday. I wasn't trying to embarrass you. I don't understand why you're acting like this," I said, my voice shaking. But she just rolled her eyes and stormed around the living room, knocking over a small vase, and yelling about how she can't deal with this nonsense anymore. I wanted to disappear. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. And yet I couldn't. I couldn't walk away because this was my home, my family, my day. I had invested time, love, and energy into making this celebration perfect, and now it was crumbling in front of me. I felt my emotions bubbling over, a mix of hurt, rage, and disbelief. I realized I was shaking physically, and my eyes were filling with tears I was too proud to let fall in front of everyone. It was then that things started to get even worse. Rachel's friends, sensing her anger, began to take sides. They started whispering loudly, making snide comments about me under their breath, trying to provoke a reaction. I could feel the heat of embarrassment crawling up my neck, as people who were supposed to be friends for years were now caught in this uncomfortable drama. One of them even laughed in a way that made me want to scream. I tried to keep my composure, but my mind was spinning. How did this birthday, something that should have been joyful, turn into a battlefield? I could hear Michael pleading with her quietly, trying to calm the situation, but Rachel was unrelenting. She pointed her finger at me and said, "You're always trying to control everything. Can't you just let me live my life? Why is everything always about you?" My stomach dropped. Control. That's not who I am. I had always believed in giving everyone their space, in respecting boundaries, and yet here I was being accused of the exact opposite. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it, trying to remember if I had ever crossed a line in ways I hadn't noticed. And then I remembered the small incidents, the tiny things I had laughed off, the little disagreements that had happened over the years. Could she have been harboring this resentment all along, waiting for the right moment to explode? The thought made my chest tighten further. As the argument spiraled, something inside me snapped. I had spent years trying to maintain peace, to be the kind of mother-in-law who was welcoming, kind, and fair. And yet, all of that effort was being met with hostility and humiliation. I felt a surge of anger and frustration like I had never felt before. I looked around at my friends, my other children, Michael, and then back at Rachel. My voice grew steadier as I spoke, fueled by years of pent-up emotion. "You know what, Rachel? I have always tried to make you feel like part of this family. I have welcomed you, I have celebrated your achievements, I have tried to make this a home for all of us. But this behavior, this disrespect is not okay. Not on my birthday, not ever." The room went silent. Even Rachel's friends seemed shocked that I had finally spoken up. For a moment, I thought maybe the confrontation would end there, that maybe she would realize she had gone too far. But she didn't. She just glared at me, her face red, her voice shaking with rage, and stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard that the frames rattled. Michael followed, looking conflicted and guilty, leaving me standing in my living room, the smell of my birthday cake now mingling with tension and disbelief. I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring at the empty doorway, feeling a mixture of devastation and relief. Devastation because the day I had looked forward to was ruined, and relief because, for the first time, I had stood up for myself. I turned to my friends, who were awkwardly trying to comfort me, and I could see the sympathy and confusion in their eyes. I wanted to cry, but I held it in, unsure if I could let myself feel the full weight of the chaos. The night went on, but the energy had completely shifted. The laughter was gone, replaced with low murmurs and uncomfortable glances. My birthday cake, which I had been so proud of, went largely untouched. I tried to salvage some part of the evening, trying to laugh, to joke with my friends, but it felt hollow. And then later that night, when I finally got a moment to myself, I found a series of text messages on Michael's phone that I wasn't supposed to see. They revealed a side of Rachel that I never expected. A side filled with manipulation, lies, and calculated plans. She had been spreading false stories about me for months, trying to turn Michael against me, trying to isolate me from the family. The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. Everything I had witnessed that night, everything that had unfolded, wasn't just a random outburst. It was part of a bigger, more sinister plan. I felt betrayed, heartbroken, and enraged all at once. The woman I had trusted, welcomed, and loved like a daughter was actively plotting against me, and I had unknowingly walked right into the trap on my own birthday. I spent hours sitting in my quiet living room, thinking about what I had seen, what I had endured, and what I needed to do next. Part of me wanted to confront Michael immediately, to demand answers, to lay everything out on the table. But another part of me knew that emotions were high, that a direct confrontation could escalate into more chaos. I realized I needed a plan, a way to reveal the truth without losing control, without allowing Rachel's manipulations to succeed. And that's when it hit me. The truth always finds a way to come out. She could try to twist, lie, and manipulate, but there were facts, evidence, and moments that couldn't be denied. I needed to gather them, piece them together, and ensure that everyone, Michael, my other children, my friends, could see the real picture. This wasn't just about my birthday anymore. It was about protecting myself, my reputation, and the relationships I had spent years nurturing. I knew it wouldn't be easy. Rachel was clever, manipulative, and used to getting her way. But I also knew that my integrity, my honesty, and my love for this family were stronger than any of her schemes. And as I sat there that night, staring at the cake I hadn't even touched, I made a silent vow the next time we faced each other, the truth would come out, and everyone would finally see Rachel for who she really was. I had no idea how long it would take, how messy it would get, or what the fallout would be, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her ruin my life or my family any longer. That was when I realized that the chaos of my birthday was just the beginning. The real story, the real drama, the confrontation, the revelation of secrets, was yet to come. I had been pushed to the edge, forced to confront betrayal in its rawest form, and now I had to decide how to respond. Was I going to let Rachel's manipulations continue, or was I going to fight back, not with anger, but with the truth? The answer wasn't easy, and I knew it wouldn't be a simple path. But deep down I felt a strange sense of clarity. For the first time I understood the stakes, the players, and the game that was unfolding. And I also realized that sometimes the people you love most can hurt you the deepest, intentionally or not. My birthday had turned into chaos, yes, but it had also lit a fire inside me. A fire that I knew would not be extinguished until the truth came out and justice, in its own form, was served. So that's where I was left, standing alone in my living room, surrounded by remnants of what should have been a happy celebration, knowing that everything was about to change. I was scared, hurt, and uncertain, but I was also resolute. I needed to act, to confront, to reveal the layers of deception, and to ensure that no one else in my family would be messled by Rachel's manipulation. And I promise you, what happened next, well, that's a story you won't believe. But before I reveal it, I want to ask you, if you were in my shoes, seeing someone you trusted try to ruin a special day and turn your own family against you, what would you do? Would you confront them immediately, or wait for the right moment to reveal the truth? Think about it, because what comes next was the turning point that changed everything. After that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I replayed the confrontation in my living room. The anger in Rachel's eyes, the disbelief on Michael's face, the awkward silence from my friends. I kept asking myself over and over, how had it come to this? How had someone I had trusted completely, someone I had welcomed like a daughter, plotted against me so deliberately? I realized I needed to gather my thoughts, to figure out what to do next, because reacting impulsively would only give Rachel more ammunition. The next morning, I woke up early, still exhausted, and decided to start piecing together the truth. I dug through old messages, revisited conversations, and tried to map out everything that had happened over the past year. Slowly, a clearer picture emerged. Rachel had been sending Michael little manipulative texts, questioning my motives, painting me as controlling, making him doubt the things I had done out of love and care. I felt sick to my stomach as I read them, but at the same time, a strange sense of resolve settled in. I realized that I couldn't let this slide. I had to confront not just Rachel, but also Michael, and the rest of my family, so that the truth could finally come out, and no one else would be manipulated or hurt. I decided to approach it carefully. I called my eldest daughter Emily, who had always been level-headed and supportive. I explained the situation, laid out the messages, the confrontation, and Rachel's behavior. Emily was shocked, but she also understood the delicate balance I had to maintain. She reminded me that the goal wasn't revenge, but clarity and justice. Her words helped me calm down a little, giving me the courage to face what I knew was coming. That afternoon, I invited Michael over for a private conversation. My heart was pounding as I prepared. I knew this was going to be uncomfortable, possibly explosive, but I had to do it. When he arrived, he walked in cautiously, clearly still shaken from the night before. I offered him a cup of tea, and we sat down in the quiet of my living room. "Michael," I began, trying to keep my voice steady, "we need to talk about last night, and about Rachel." He sighed, ran a hand through his hair, and looked at me with a mixture of guilt and confusion. "Mum, I didn't know it would get so bad," he admitted. I tried to calm her down, but she just exploded. I nodded, trying to hold back tears. "I know, sweetheart, but there's more. I found messages, texts, and plans that show this isn't just an outburst. Rachel has been deliberately trying to manipulate you, and it's been going on for months. I slid my phone across the table and let him read the conversations himself. Watching him go through the messages was surreal. His eyes widened, his face paled, and he ran his hands through his hair in disbelief. I could see the conflict inside him. He loved Rachel, he didn't want to believe she could do this. But the evidence was right in front of him. He looked up at me, voice trembling. "Mom, I had no idea. I thought she was just stressed, or maybe upset for some reason. I didn't know she was trying to turn me against you." I reached out and held his hands. "I know, Michael. That's why I didn't say anything earlier. I wanted to be sure, and I wanted you to see the truth clearly without anyone twisting it." There was a long silence as he absorbed everything. I could see the realization settling in. Michael finally understood that the chaos at my birthday wasn't a random outburst, but a carefully orchestrated attack on our family dynamic. I don't know what to say," he whispered. "I love her, Mom, but this is too much." I nodded. "I understand. And that's why we need to approach this carefully. We need the rest of the family to see the truth, and we need Rachel to understand that her manipulations won't work anymore." Over the next few days, I started quietly collecting evidence, saving screenshots and noting incidents where Rachel had twisted facts or spread false stories. I also spoke privately to friends and family who had witnessed her behavior, gathering their accounts to support mine. Every step of the way, I reminded myself to stay calm, to remain factual, because I knew that losing my temper would only give Rachel more power. Then, I planned a family meeting. I invited everyone over: Michael, Rachel, my other children, and even some close friends who had witnessed the birthday meltdown. The tension was palpable as everyone gathered in the living room. Rachel walked in, looking smug, perhaps thinking that she still had control. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment, and began speaking. "Rachel, we need to talk. This isn't about my birthday anymore. This is about the way you've been manipulating situations, creating false narratives, and causing division in this family." She rolled her eyes and crossed her arms, clearly not expecting me to confront her so directly. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice dripping with false innocence. I calmly presented the evidence: texts, messages, incidents, and eyewitness accounts. As I spoke, I could see the room shift. My children looked shocked, Michael's face turned pale, and Rachel's smug expression started to crack. I continued, voice steady, each word deliberate. "This has been going on for months. You've tried to turn Michael against me, spread lies, and create chaos. But the truth is out now, and everyone here can see it." For a moment, the room was silent. I could feel every eye on me, every heart beating in suspense. Then Rachel erupted, shouting and denying everything, trying to twist the narrative back to make herself the victim. But this time it didn't work. Michael spoke up, voice firm but shaky. "Rachel, I saw the messages. I know what you've been doing. I can't believe you would manipulate my own family like this." Her face went from anger to panic as she realized her control had completely slipped. The friends she had brought with her earlier were no longer backing her. They looked uncomfortable, unsure of what to do. My other children, who had been silently observing, now spoke up, sharing their experiences and validating my account. One by one, the lies she had spun were dismantled piece by piece in front of everyone. It was surreal, almost cinematic. The person who had tried to ruin my birthday, my reputation, and my family, now cornered and exposed. I could feel a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. Satisfaction because the truth was finally out, because the manipulations had been revealed, and because my family could see me for who I truly was. Sadness because it had come to this level of confrontation, because someone I had trusted had gone so far to create chaos. Rachel, now completely exposed, tried to leave, but Michael stopped her. "We need to figure out how to move forward," he said firmly. She looked at him, eyes wide with shock, and finally seemed to grasp that her actions had consequences. There was no more gaslighting, no more denial, only the stark reality of what she had done. After she left, a heavy silence filled the room. I looked around at my children, my friends, and Michael, and felt a wave of relief. The family was shaken, yes, but we were still intact. The truth had prevailed, and for the first time in months, I felt a sense of calm. My birthday may have been ruined, but the aftermath had restored something far more important: clarity, honesty, and the trust that could be rebuilt now that the lies were gone. In the following weeks, things slowly began to settle. Rachel and Michael had long, difficult conversations, and Michael finally began to understand the depth of her manipulations. My children were supportive, and we all worked together to repair the damage she had done. While it wasn't easy, it was healing in its own way. I also took time for myself, reflecting on the chaos, the betrayal, and the lessons I had learned. I realized that boundaries, honesty, and speaking up are crucial, even when it's uncomfortable. My birthday, though marred by chaos, had become a turning point, not just for revealing Rachel's true nature, but for showing me the strength I had within myself to confront deception and protect my family. Looking back, I now see that day as a moment of awakening. The chaos, the shouting, the tears, they were all part of a larger story about family, trust, and resilience. I had been pushed to my limits, but I had also discovered my own power, my voice, and my ability to face betrayal without letting it destroy me. And perhaps most importantly, I realized that the truth always finds a way to come out, no matter how deeply someone tries to hide it. If I had ignored the signs or stayed silent, the damage could have been irreparable. Instead, by confronting Rachel, gathering evidence, and standing firm, I not only protected myself, but also my family and our future. So here's my advice to anyone watching this story: never underestimate the importance of speaking your truth, even when it feels impossible. Stand firm in your convictions, gather your evidence, and protect your peace. Toxic people may try to manipulate, deceive, and disrupt, but when you face them with clarity and courage, the truth will always prevail. And as for my birthday, while it wasn't the celebration I had envisioned, it became a story that taught me resilience, courage, and the importance of family bonds. It was chaotic, emotional, and shocking, yes, but ultimately, it revealed the power of honesty, and that's a gift far more valuable than any cake or party could ever be. If you were on my side, give this video a like. If you've ever faced manipulation in your family or confronted someone you trusted, share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your experiences. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, where the drama is real, the emotions are raw, and the lessons are unforgettable. Thank you for listening to my story, and I'll see you all in the next one.